I'm John Arway, Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission. And we're here today on Mill Creek in Lancaster County to tell the story about smallmouth bass in the Susquehanna River. But we're going to start telling the story with the restoration project that was done by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service's Partners for Fish and Wildlife program about restoring a small stream for brook trout here in Lancaster County. Well, obviously this is not the Susquehanna River. It's a tributary to the river, and obviously the river is the sum of its parts. And this is one of the important parts to tell a story about what we need to do to save the Susquehanna. It all starts in these small tributaries, and they're the conduit to get the nutrients, the sediments to the river that are causing the problems with our smallmouth bass. And today we're along Mill Creek in Lancaster County and talking about some of the things that we can do in these small arteries of the Susquehanna that will improve the overall health of the Susquehanna River. Today's project, we're looking at some of the things that we can do with the Save Our Susquehanna River campaign funds, and this is exactly some of the kinds of things that we can do. There are plenty of these kinds of farms to work on, but really not enough funding to really accomplish the goals that we need to accomplish to fix the river's problems and help the health of the bass. And the Conestoga and the Mill Creek watersheds are one of the main contributors of sediment and nutrients to the Conestoga River because of all the farming that goes on in these south central counties. Who would have ever thought that we'd be able to take a stream that was filled with sediment and overrun by cattle and turn it into a trout stream again? And that's exactly what we're here today to look at.
Hi, I'm Dave Putnam, a biologist with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in the Pennsylvania Field Office. The Mill Creek Project is an excellent example of how we can restore the river, the tributaries to the Susquehanna. We've been working here about 15 years. When we first started, this area had complete access by livestock. The banks were vertical, and you'll see from the before pictures the impact that the livestock had on this stream. Nutrients were being deposited directly in the stream. The banks are seriously eroding. Those eroding banks and the sediment that's coming overland carry phosphorus, nitrogen, and many contaminants that affect the downstream waters. By installing the buffer, we're stopping the nutrients from running from the adjacent fields. By stopping the vertical bank erosion, we're stopping a major source of sediment coming into the tributaries.
Hi, I'm Adam Smith, Fish and Wildlife Biologist with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I'm standing here today at the Stoltzfus property along Mill Creek in Lancaster County. Right now, you can see that we have some log structures behind us. This is actually what we like to call mudsill or log cribbing. 15 years ago, what you would have seen would be vertical banks caving in, and what we have today is the log structures, the mudsill. We have overhead cover for trout, and we also have some solar protection in place. For a project like this, our program with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is called Partners for Fish and Wildlife, and indeed it takes many partners to make something like this happen. First of all, you have to have a willing landowner, like the farmer, Mr. Stoltzfus, and you've got to have somebody that actually cares about the watershed besides Mr. Stoltzfus. In this case, it was the Lancaster County Conservation District that made this go, along with a grant from Pennsylvania DEP Growing Greener. And the Fish and Wildlife Service came in to try to make this project happen with their assistance. Provided some design aspects on the stream and the labor, along with Habitat Forever, to make it happen. It's also good to have a local connection. In this case, we have Brubacher Excavating. Laverne Brubacher spent many a day here helping us to install these structures. We are pleased to work on this project with the Mill Creek Preservation Association as well. And that's our Amish watershed group. And they're a group of farmers that are concerned about Mill Creek. They know about stream buffers, they know about pastures, they know that if they take care of their streams, they're taking care of their farms, they're taking care of their livestock. So what we're seeing here today is this grass buffer surrounded by trees. And you say, well, this looks pretty nice, but it not only looks nice because I'm not standing in the middle of a pasture with a cow next to me. The grass buffers also filter out some of the nutrients that would come down over the fields. Also, you see, because we've stabilized the banks, we don't have that sediment going in anymore and going down into the Chesapeake Bay and into the Susquehanna. This structure behind me, a mudsill, not only stabilized the bank, it corrected the stream width. We have several other structures here that we'll see, including rock veins and log veins. All this to correct the stream width. When we got here 15 years ago for the first time to help install fencing, what we would have had here was carp-infested backwater. Essentially nothing but mud, nothing but a mud bottom. Look at the bottom today, what do we see? We see gravel. The gravel was always there. Good gravel, spawning gravel. The other thing is, by correcting the stream width, we've eliminated a lot of the solar impact. The other thing is, you see the grasses here, we're also providing shade to the stream, and the Conservation District has come along and established a tree buffer by planting several different species here. Another thing I should mention is that a lot of these farmers, where we've come in and done a project, as we are here on Mill Creek today, they used to go and pay to fish. And you look at the restoration behind me, and they don't have to do that anymore. There are trout in the stream. The carp were replaced by trout. The only one that lost really were the carp. It offers a tremendous recreation for the farmers that are involved. Mostly every project that we've worked on, in fact, is open to public fishing. The farmers themselves, they like to fish. I work for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. We do this for fish habitat, but there's so much more that comes into it, including taking care of the nutrients in the sediment that come through. The structure where I'm standing right here is log cribbing, where we like to call it a mud sill. You can see logs here, what we call face log. We actually have logs in the bank going like this, connecting these logs together. What this does, it not only narrows the stream, it also provides some overhead cover. Where I here at the beginning of the project, my bank would have been over here. So what we did essentially is we built this frame out of logs. We've got several logs back here. We came on here with rock to help protect that bank. And we brought the topsoil and the old bank back down to it so we could get some vegetation to grow. So a couple of functions that the mud sill does is it does narrow the stream here, but it provides a tremendous amount of overhead cover. The flow keeps it scoured through here, so we keep a deep area right here. Were I to take 2 steps in front of myself, I would be up to here in water. I mentioned that our bank line used to be back here. The other thing that was happening before we installed the mud sill was every high water event, more of this bank would cave in and cave in and cave in. So the stream kept getting wider and wider and warmer, and it lacked habitat. With the mud sill installed, we've stabilized the bank and we provided great fish habitat. The mud sills, we typically use mud sills, I would say 95% of our projects, we use mud sills. They're just great. At the end of the day, we walk away and we've got overhead cover.
This is one of about 50 projects that we've completed in Lancaster County. It's a very cost-effective way to protect the stream. It's very popular. Probably costs between less than $1 per linear foot to put in the stream bank fencing, up to as much as $2.50 a foot, depending on the specifications. And you get tremendous benefits from restoring these buffers. Working with the Amish has been very rewarding. They've been very excited about working on these projects. They formed their own watershed association here and actually got their own Growing Greener grants to fund some of this work. They've worked with us, helping us to implement the projects through hay, seeding and mulching the projects, planting trees. They had their own fishing derby on Mill Creek in an area that when we first started here was not even good enough to grow ducks. We were hopeful to get the stream good enough quality to grow ducks. It was quite a while before we figured out these are limestone spring creeks. These have the same potential water quality as the Tort and some other of our more famous streams, but they've been heavily degraded over the years by both industry and agriculture. The main thing that we've never run out of projects, we've always run out of money before we run out of projects. So additional funding can get additional projects like this out on the ground.
Dave and Adam, I want to say thanks for the work you've done here at this scale.
Thanks, John. Glad to do it.
For $1 a foot, look what they've accomplished. $1 a foot is worth a lot. This land is worth a lot more to the Amish and any other farmer to farm it. But look what we can get if we invest it and protect it, and the side benefits that we get, not only with the trout, reduction in nutrients and sediment, benefits the fish and wildlife, and the values that that brings back to the residents of the Commonwealth. Some people may say this is only 3 miles of stream. We've got 98 miles of river that we have to fix. That's what the SOS campaign is all about. We're going to do it one farm at a time, $1 a foot at a time, and it's all going to be to benefit the smallmouth bass. So Adam, thanks from the smallmouth bass. Dave, thanks from the smallmouth bass. We've got a lot of work to do, so please buy a fishing license or buy your SOS button, and we'll start on this one farm at a time. Probably one of the most important lessons I learned today is even though we're dealing with a small farm in a tributary stream in Lancaster County, this can make a difference to the bass problem that we're seeing in the Susquehanna River. So if we work together, we talk about Partners for Fish and Wildlife Service. That's exactly what it is. It's a partnership program, and we work one farm at a time. We can actually make a difference to improve the water quality conditions of the Susquehanna River with projects like this.